I'm too good for that show. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. I know we're normally not here now, and you're normally enjoying your Sunday nights without us. Some of you guys are quick and have jumped in the chat room. We really appreciate your loyalty. We're going to just do the picks because otherwise we can't. There's only one game that starts tomorrow. One series starts tomorrow. We already missed the one.
Yep.
But I will be honest and pretend that never happened.
Well, you're
I'm honest because I'm picking Colorado in 5.
What a crap jersey that you're wearing. Not the country, but the person who.
My Wayne Gretzky Team Canada jersey.
93 playoffs already. Go stop whining already. Seriously.
I hated him before 93.
Shut up.
Really. That's the worst thing that could happen.
Hated him before 93. Sorry, Jim.
All right, so let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do a really quick show. We're just going to talk about the predictions. We're not going to talk about baseball or anything like that. So I'm getting a haircut tomorrow. I can't wait, man. I look like a freaking hippie. All right. Actually, I look like a bad Jackson Brown interpretator. That's what I've decided.
Yeah, actually, you do. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, are you there?
You got Daryl Hannah.
Or the pretender.
That's horrible.
You got Daryl Hannah and Bonnie.
I'm never getting that image out of my head, so thank you. So can we move on to the picks now?
Yep. All right. There we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's let's look at the date for a second before I do this. Hi, Hockey World. It's Sunday, August 23rd, 2020.
I'm Michael Agello, and I hate doing landscaping in the backyard.
I'm Jan Levine, and thanks for Mike for sharing with us.
Yeah, I took Jan.
Let's go on. I played 9 innings of baseball yesterday, so screw Eck.
There you go. And I'm Eklund. You're watching Hockey Buzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is a podcast that comes every Monday through Friday, and now on a Sunday, to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And
and just in time, here's Anthony Mangione.
That off the post show that never invites. No, hey Anthony, how you doing?
Anthony's the second mention already in the first 3 minutes. So
anyway, no. Anthony's one of the nicest people I've met in the hockey world. So I know
the theme song for today's show is Jealousy.
The only one who cared enough to even say sorry. All right.
Somebody put
because it really meant a lot.
It's fine. All right, let's get into this, okay? Because we don't have a lot of time. I just talked to Kevin Allen at a secret location. His daughter's getting married in South Carolina.
Cool.
And I watched the stream. I streamed the wedding. I streamed the wedding on the beach yesterday. I watched it. It was really fun. All right, so here we go. We're going to get into the predictions because we can't. We're going to start with Colorado and pretend this never happened yesterday. Dallas. And I'll tell you, I'll start. My honesty is that I picked Colorado in 5 games. They better get on it. That is my. That is my 5 games. 5 games.
I wasn't ready to go 5.
That was my pick. I hadn't get before I put it out there like 5 minutes before because I knew I had to get to put it on Twitter just to get it documented. Yep. So I have Colorado in 5 games. Reason being, I just thought they were playing so well, and I didn't think that Dallas would be able to keep this up. And I was slightly wrong maybe in the beginning of it. But what are your picks for this series, guys? Why don't we start with you, Anthony, since you're so nice to me?
So I have Colorado in 6 games in this series, and I'm not changing it. It's at this point. It's I think Francouz can hold the fort down for them. The biggest concern I think we discussed earlier today, Mike mentioned it as well, was the loss of. We need to see what the status of Erik Johnson is. Right. Losing him and will make things a bit more difficult for the Avs, I think, in this series. That said, I still think it was a case where, and you heard it from Bednar. It sounds very much like, Colorado, their players were kind of feeling themselves a little too much coming into this game. And Dallas was honestly coming in on a roll after literally being down, almost buried in that first period. And then 7 unanswered goals. Their offense has finally exploded. And if Radilov's loose and Seguin's loose, this is going to be a fire wagon series then.
Well, the report is it's day-to-day with Johnson. It's day-to-day with Matt Calvert, who didn't play yesterday.
Yeah, Calvert didn't play great last series anyhow. So
yeah, and obviously I think they're going to say all the nice things of, well, he may be back, but I can't see Grubauer coming back based on the injury that we saw yesterday. It looked like a groin or a knee or maybe a hamstring, but it was really, I think, something that he was in a lot of pain.
When you go down literally in that position, you look like you've been shot. You know there's problems.
And he couldn't move. Now, I picked Colorado in 6, and I'm sticking with that, but I have to say with those injuries and you could have put out an APB on Sagan, Radulov, and Ben in the Calgary series. That series was all Pavelski, their defense, and Gurionov in Game 6. And their top line showed up. And I didn't know this before I made my pick, but Dallas beat Colorado all 4 games during the regular season. So, I think the great equalizer is Khudobin. Khudobin is an average goaltender. I think he showed his foibles and his his averageness yesterday.
I don't believe that at all.
I think the only way they win this series is if Bishop comes back, and that's why I don't think, and I have no confidence that Bishop is coming back. So I'll stick with Colorado in 6.
Yeah, I have Colorado in 6 because again. And look, I like Khudobin. I mean, he was the top-ranked European goalie in his draft. I remember him very well, and he's had a decent career. But he'll have a 960 one day and have a 900 the next day, and then he runs hot for 2 games and he runs cold for 2 games. He's not consistent, and I think that is going to be a problem. I was happy to see just now that Jared Bednar said that if they can't get Eric Johnson back, they're going to look at everybody. So that means Timmins and Bowen Byram too.
That's what I thought.
That could open things up and I think I would do Byram over Timmins and hope to get the same kick that they got out of Makar last year. That at least makes me feel like, okay, things could change there. Honestly, I feel like if they just go around the forecheck and actually try and do more wraparounds on Khudobin, they'll be fine. I think they got punched in the mouth a little bit, and that's fine. But I'm going to go Colorado in 6.
So, I mean, Khudobin I didn't think was particularly great yesterday. I mean, we saw, as you mentioned, Radulov finally showed up yesterday. To me, also with Johnson out, Zadorov had a horrible game in my opinion yesterday. I mean, he was so calming him down in the third pairing where either Timmins or Byron can do that. Also, the Colorado got burnt a lot on their pinches by their defense. You saw a lot of the goals were just popping it out of the zone and then using the speed through the neutral zone. So it's one thing they got to watch also. But I think Francouz is a guy who I think can handle it because Grubauer, as you said, looked like he got shot. I mean, I would be shocked given the extent of what the injury looked like that he'd be back. I had Colorado in 6. I mean, I'm waffling a little bit to think maybe 7, but I still think they have enough offensively to be able to get past Dallas in the series.
Yeah, I don't have as much confidence as Anthony does in Francouz. Anthony seems to believe that Francouz can handle it. Maybe he can, but he's going to have to prove it to me in this series because I think that I think he's a good goaltender. I think he's a 1B. If it is, it's a battle of the 1Bs. That's basically
he's a better goalie than Grubauer, in my opinion.
He's going to prove it. I'm just saying.
He's got his chance. You're right,
Mike. It's a huge spot for him, no question.
It's a huge spot for him. I love this kid. I think he is young still, granted. He's going to be the goalie for that team for many, many years to come. In my opinion, he's the guy who's going to be there while they win Stanley Cups. He's going to win multiple cups with that team. I think he is that good. Now, whether or not
we'll see.
Yeah, whether or not it's too soon, it's a lot of pressure, bubble, all kinds of crazy.
I like him a lot. Don't get me wrong, I do. Multiple cups, we'll see. But
he had a 933 save percentage, something like that. He had a good year.
He's just fun to watch. I mean, and this is the other thing about these two goalies. I mean, I wrote it in my text messaging yesterday. Like, I'm a goalie guy, right? And these are 2 of my favorite goalies to watch in the NHL. Like, it's fun to watch this series just from the fact that Khudobin doesn't do normal things either. Like, neither of these guys, and Francouz, who wears number 39, is from the Czech Republic, so you got to think that he's Hasek inspired, right?
Yeah,
has the same kind of stuff going on, and I love it. I mean, even when you saw the goal yesterday that Landeskog scored, which was an amazing goal, when he got around Khudobin and tucked it in. If you notice that goal, like Khudobin is beaten on his left he beats on his left pad, but somehow manages to get his right pad up against the post.
Yeah, but he was out of position. That was the point. Actually,
he got deked. I mean, it was he came out to challenge, and he got deked. He missed the deke, but to still be able to have the effort to get your other pad up against, your right pad up against the left.
We should have a meme of crying Thomas Greiss because I feel like abandon him the way he has abandoned Carter Hutton in the past.
Oh man!
Next series.
Series. All right. Boston. And by the way, I talked to Kevin Allen before this. I got his picks too. He is also going with Colorado in this series as well. Didn't give me a number, but Colorado.
Okay.
All right. Tampa, Boston. 2 best teams Eastern Conference this year. I think a lot of people figured this would be the conference final when the bubble thing was set up. It was sort of set up to be the conference final. And then, of course, Boston didn't care about the preliminaries, so here we are.
Right.
And this, to me, in my opinion, this is Tampa's series to lose. And I think that a lot of like what I saw last night, and I'm a big believer in this, that the series you just play in affects game one of the next series in a big way. And I thought last night we kind of saw that. Like the Calgary-Dallas series was a tougher series for Dallas, than the Arizona series was for Colorado. So Dallas still came in on kind of like on a flying up and an upbeat,
Yes.
and they were still going hard where Colorado hadn't really been challenged at all. So
he's in front. Radulov, he scores.
there you go.
Sorry.
That's all right. We're doing a show, Mike.
I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay. There we go. Sorry.
We are live. No, so to me, like I think that this next series plays into that because Tampa coming out of Columbus, there is no team probably that's better to prepare Tampa for Boston than Columbus. Like this is the perfect that Boston does what Columbus does better, in a lot of ways. I mean, they're the same kind of team in some ways, and I think that's a big, and I think the goaltending here though is the difference. And I do think that Halak is not Rask, and I think that's at the end of the day. That's why to me, I'm going with Tampa in 6.
Well, I think you sort of made my point. Columbus, Boston is a better Columbus, but look at the series. Columbus blew a 2-goal lead in Game 5 with 6 minutes left to go or 7 minutes to go in the third period, and they lost a game in 5 overtimes. The Bruins won't do that. The Bruins are the Bruins. And I think this is going to be a tight 7-game series. I watched that Tampa Columbus series very intently. I think they the improvements that they made at the deadline, bringing Coleman and Goudreau, help their special teams, help their offensive depth on their third line. It doesn't look like they're going to get Stamkos back, but they're a great team. They're really a great team. Boston is 2, and even though they've lost a little in goal with Rask to Halak, I don't think it's enough that it's going to make a big difference. And with Pasternak back, it stretches the Bruins offense. Krejci moves down to second line center. Coyle moves down to third line center. Their depth at forward is sort of restored with Pasternak coming back. And Tampa's got to prove to me they can shut down that Boston power play because it is absolutely friggin' lethal. That's why I'm picking Boston.
Okay. Good. Russ?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one because I really feel like Halak's going to have to play his best game in Game 1 because I feel like Tampa's going to be really pumped up and throw the kitchen sink at them.
Yeah.
I like the 4 lines they could roll. I like guys like Mitchell Stevens, the unsung guys. A lot of speed, but they do have toughness, and Boston's going to play dirty, and they're going to play dirty. And I think it's going to come down to goaltending, and I think Tampa has the better goaltending. I like Tampa in 6. Yeah. I really feel like if Halak has one bad game, that's going to really be bad for Boston because they have no safety net. There is no other goalie they could go to, and I think that's more pressure on Halak than there usually is.
It's true. Jan, what are your thoughts?
So, guys have made points I wanted to make. So, I think, as Mike talked about,
sorry, Jan.
We're going to let you
deadline acquisition. I think we're all going to be talking over each other anyway because I think we have similar views. The deadline acquisitions of getting Coleman and Goudreau play a huge part in this series, right? Because it lengthens Tampa Bay's lineup, and I think their third line now is better than Boston's third line. In addition, plus the psychological aspect, right? Tampa coming into the series had all the pressure against them against Columbus because of what happened last year. They kind of now get to exhale a little bit. They're now, I wouldn't say they're playing with house money, but they now kind of buried the beast from last year and gotten that monkey off their shoulder, to use the cliche. Now they're going to just kind of play hockey. Boston is making up for the loss of Rask. They got through the first round. Halak played well, but I do think Vasilevsky, as Russ said, is a better goalie than Halak is, though Halak does have some proven playoff experience in terms of carrying a Montreal team a couple of years ago. Fairly even series. He's talked about the power play is going to be huge. No Stamkos. If Stamkos was in, I'd probably give Tampa even a further edge, but I give him a slight edge. I'm going to go with Tampa probably in 6, but I could see it going 7 also.
7. Okay, Anthony.
I'm going to say again, I'm going to echo Tampa in 7. I expect this to be an absolute, just a drag-out fight. This is going to be very high level hockey from both teams. The biggest thing that I look at in this series, maybe the difference again comes down to Tampa's productive depth versus Boston. I feel like Boston very much is being carried by their top 2 lines, which again is better than some teams do in the playoffs. But Tampa seems to be a team that has everything's sort of on point. Now, at the same time, were they fortunate at times throughout the Columbus series? Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I do, but again, still were able to dispatch Columbus in 5. Again, this Boston is, as we stated, a better version of Columbus. Keeping the power play in check, as Mike stated, I would also say that you just have to also just make sure that the perfection line does not, to limit their opportunities as much as possible. And, see if you can kind of test Char a little bit as we're getting deeper into this postseason.
Right.
Send some of your faster forwards in to force him to track, and it gets a little bit. It may get a little bit tougher for him as they go along, as the series gets longer and longer. And again, at the end of the day, it's Vasilevsky versus Halak.
Yeah.
I anticipate Vaz is going to be up on his game. Halak has to prove it to me in a lone series. It's been a long time since he kind of had carried the mail when he did with Montreal.
Yeah.
So again, I think it'll be a long series. A lot of good factors. Tampa in 7.
And let's just say this: if this devolves into a turf war, which it very well could, because these teams during the regular season did that, that's advantage Boston because you're playing their game if you do that.
Oh, one more thing. I know Mike thinks he's a doctor, or at least on this show, but it only said Stamkos is out for game 1, not for the series.
Well,
you sort of implied that they don't have him.
It doesn't sound very.
I mean, does anyone
Game
really
1,
think
Mike.
that
He's out for game 1.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not buying him. I'm with Mike. I'm not buying that Stamkos is coming back until I see him back. I mean, it's like this is
fog of war.
We're back to seeing Stamkos again.
They wouldn't have brought him to the bubble if they were just going to decoy him the whole time.
I don't think they're decoying him the whole time, but I just question how well this guy's healing.
He wouldn't go to the bubble if he couldn't play. Let's put it that way.
I know. I agree with that.
Yeah, but that could mean he could play in the Stanley Cup final. It doesn't
Yeah,
mean.
you think you're going to go pretty far with Tampa. I think.
And let's just say this: he comes back in and he gets hurt again. He's probably done for the playoffs.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. But
And
still say a doctor or Joe.
So there's a really good chance that happens. I mean, look at Stamkos. This is what we've seen with Stamkos. All right, we're going to go Vancouver, Vegas, and Jan. You're going to get to start because we've been taking your points all the time. So you go ahead.
Well, first of all, thank God I don't have to take the spear out of my back like Pete DeBoer does after that tweet by Alan Walsh. I mean, granted, Fleury tried to walk him back a little bit, but clearly
so classy by Alan. Yeah.
Clearly not the greatest optic. Look,
So
we talked about before the series that we thought Leonard should be in net because we thought he'd been playing better than Fleury, and he basically proved us being right in terms of what we saw in that series. I mean, going in, Vegas is definitely the favorite. There's no question, but Vancouver might have a little bit of mojo given what we've seen. I mean, JT Miller had a really strong series, in my opinion. You look offensively, Elias Peterson had a very good series again in the last series. Horvat, Besser. The thing that is defensively, I think they played better than we expected. We know we're going to get out of Quinn Hughes. I think we got better series out of Troy Stretcher that we thought, and a couple other guys. But Vegas is just too good and too deep. I think Vancouver's upper end talent prolongs this series. But I'm going to take Vegas in 6.
Vegas in 6. Anthony.
I think it's going to be. I think Vegas. I'll echo. It's Vegas in 6, but it's going to be I think there's going to be some really, really good, entertaining hockey in this series. The biggest thing is that again, Vancouver got a lot of important experience. I think against St. Louis. Now again, there wasn't the same Blues team as last year. Even though personnel was very similar, there was just something missing. Their goaltending. And I'm going to be very curious to see what happens with Jordan Binnington over the next few months in terms of proving whether or not this season was the outlier, this series was an outlier, or last season was the outlier. We're going to have to find that out very quickly. But getting back to Vancouver again, as Jan stated, the high end talent of Vancouver is something that's going to be really going to be fascinating to watch, matching up against a very, very deep Vegas team. That's defense. Again, I come back to the fact of I do think the effect of Alec Martinez acquired at the trade deadline was huge to stretch their defense and have better personnel matchups in this case. It makes things a lot easier. Again, pairing obviously up with Shea Theodore, who's again one of the underrated best defensemen in the National Hockey League.
Yeah,
a lot of depth. Pacioretty's back. But overall, I think it's I think Lander will be able to hold his ground in this series, and Vegas wins this in 6.
Russ?
Yeah, first thing, getting with the Walsh thing, it looks like Marc-Andre Fleury not only had to answer for him, but he said he asked Walsh to delete the tweet, and did it. This is not a place Marc-Andre Fleury likes to be in. He does not want the spotlight on him for anything but hockey. I can tell you that for certain.
This is wrong.
I feel terrible for him because all of a sudden he's put in a horrible spot by really bad judgment by the guy who's supposed to give him good judgment. But anyhow,
Marc-Andre Fleury has never really done. I'm going to throw this out there. Has never really done that well by his client. I want to throw that just the entire time that Fleury's had issues with him from the very, very beginning.
Well, I hope that picture with the broadsword sticking through Fleury's back is postered on every player who's considering representation, just to let them know that Alan Walsh will stab you in the back at the worst possible time, because that's what happened.
No, it's ridiculous.
So as far as the series goes, though, I really do like the way Vancouver's young players are playing, no question. I love Quinn Hughes, Besser. The fact that what worries me about Vancouver, and I think Markstrom's up to the task, what worries me is like guys like Edler being banged up. I really think Stone is going to punch them in the mouth. I think Pacioretty is going to punch them in the mouth. I just think their defense is going to be a little too soft for the Vegas forwards, the big forwards, and I think that's going to be a big problem. So I'm going Vegas in 6. Mm-hmm. I like what Vancouver's done. I just think this is a bridge too far for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, the Edler injury, he did come back, but also the Myers absence.
That's big too.
That's really big, especially against bigger Vegas forwards. I used this comparison, and I know somebody else did previously. I look at Vancouver as Chicago in 2009, as a team that's on the precipice, that is extremely talented but inexperienced. Down that they did beat St. Louis, I give them a ton of credit, and they've got the pieces, the building blocks to be a contender for a number of years with Hughes, with Pettersson, and a number of other players. But I think against Vegas, who I think is a more experienced, well-formed team, their flaws are going to be exposed, and that's nothing. That's not a shame for Vancouver, because I really like them and they play an exciting brand of hockey, but I don't think that they're ready for prime time yet. I go along with everybody. I said Vegas in 6, but Vancouver has a bright future.
And just wait till Colson and Höglander come over. That upper end talent.
Colson really could be next season.
Pretty special. They're going to have to improve their defense, which is the thing they have to focus on. But those first 3 lines are going to be pretty special to watch.
I'm going to disagree with all of you, of course, because
we were ready for that.
And I'm going to go Vancouver in 7. I think this is going to be a hell of a series. I think it's going to be back and forth. I am not, you guys know that I was not a big fan of the Leonard of playing Leonard over Fleury. I think that Leonard's done fine, but at the same time, I think that this is still Fleury's.
He's 7-1. Really fine is the best you can come up with.
He's been pretty damn good in this series. He's been pretty good.
7-1.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, honestly, it's tough. If you're Pete DeBoer, it's tough to go away from the way Leonard's played. I'm sorry. He's been really good.
Fleury played just as well in the game that he played in the last series, if not better than Leonard.
I know you're a Fleury lover, so we have to sort of take that into account in anything we say.
Are we saying this is a team effect versus the goaltender's performance?
Yeah, I think
it's symbiotic. I think he grafts onto that team very well.
No, he does. He does, and I think that I'm not saying that but it feels a little bit familiar to me. To when we talk about like things that Vancouver beat, St. Louis with a goaltending situation. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get there completely with these 2 goalies.
But it's a sub. But here's the thing: you're talking about a goaltending situation which was subpar. You're talking about 2 goaltenders that were not, in Bennington, who's just going through the floor,
right,
or past his blocker side. As many times he was victimized on blocker side goals in that series. Right. And Jake Allen, you're asking to jump into the fire after being, not that good to begin with. So this case, you're dealing with a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, no, you are. You're dealing with Leonard, had a hell of a season, and he deserves all the accolades. He's played very well for them. He hasn't lost for them. He's managed to win games for sure. He lost 1 game. But I don't know why in my gut, though, I just still feel like that Marc-Andre Fleury is going to be the one who wins for this team. And I don't know how that gets there. So maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like it happens.
That's possible. But the thing is, it's nice to have a fallback.
It is nice to have a fallback. And, and Kevin was on here and says, he thinks there's probably more to it than we know, that they, that Vegas probably knows a little bit that Fleury's lost a couple things, and stuff.
Sure.
And that's that I give you that grant that, and by the way, Kevin picked Tampa in the last round, and it's funny, picks Vegas. But Yeah, to me, I feel like this Vancouver kind of feels like a team of destiny to a degree to me. They feel like if there is a team of destiny left, that it's them, that they are the ones who, and there is always one of those teams that surprises us. I think that St. Louis and Vegas are similar teams.
Here's a comparison I'll make. I'll say maybe that they could very well be kind of like the 1995 Flyers.
Yeah.
Maybe a team again that surprises you, that that wins a couple rounds, beats the previous. Again, they beat the previous year's Stanley Cup champion. Maybe they surprise here as well, get to the conference finals, and then we'll see. It's possible, but I don't think I think
it's a team that lost to the Rangers, in the Stanley Cup finals. Like there's a little bit of that.
It could be like the '67 Leafs. It's possible.
No, that was Kirk McLean's story, right? That was the Kirk McLean story that year.
They were half the age of these guys.
Yes, that was the Kirk McLean story that year. Bure was a monster in the playoffs.
McLean was ridiculous, and McLean and Bure. Yeah, I mean those two. But
Bure's performance might have been my favorite performance by a single player in the playoff team. He was electric in that.
Let's just say that I'm sure that our friends at Sportsnet would be very happy if it ends up that way, because the last Canadian team would be eliminated if the Canucks lose. But
I listen, it could go either way.
Boy, wouldn't that be a shame with all the hockey in Canada? There's no Canadian team
played there.
Darn, that would be horrible.
Someone said this in the chat room, and I do agree. Pacioretty in the playoffs has never been a real great player. And so far in these playoffs, he's only played in 4 of the games,
Yeah, I mean, he was
but is he the decisive factor for a team that's got as many weapons?
No, he's not a decisive factor, but he's got it. But everybody's got to be clipping on all cylinders.
Not James Van Riemsdyk.
Yeah, in Montreal,
no.
In Montreal, he was the only scoring forward on that pathetic of Habs team when they made the playoffs. So what the hell?
We'll see. That's my pick. Let's move on to
Pacioretty has 16 goals in his career in the playoffs. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 40, 50 games or something like that. Close to 50 games.
49 games.
There we go.
32 points.
50.
But he's not a point-a-game player. He never has been. There's other things to his game.
He's got to come up. I mean, big goals. We need big goals.
2 years ago, he had 11 points in 7 games. He's probably not matching that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We need big goals, big time. I mean, he's a big player for them. All right, so moving on, the Islanders and the Flyers. This is a tough one, right? This is a really tough one. I'll let Anthony start on this one. Go ahead, Jan, you start.
This is a pick'em. This is a pick'em series. It really is. I think you're looking at two. It's kind of almost like the clone Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other because they're two teams that exactly they both teams like to roll all 4 lines, all 3 D pairs, and have a pair of goaltenders who are playing particularly well at the moment. It's in many ways, I think for Philadelphia, the Montreal series acted as a good primer for what they're potentially facing, much the same way that Tampa is facing a similar opponent when they had Columbus. Now they're up against Boston. Philadelphia knows that they're probably in for a very similar series. The thing is, the Islanders come with much superior center depth. You have Matt Barzal, who, again, they are going to be absolutely just over. I mean, that's a really tough assignment for Sean Couturier to handle. That being said, if he's a Selke candidate, this is what he gets. This is what you're looking for out of him. You've got Brock Nelson. You have also you have JG Pajot. You've got Derek Brassard. It's a very deep team down the middle, and it's going to be really, I think, it's about as tough a matchup as I think Philadelphia is going to be finding short of a Boston-Tampa matchup. But again, it's the Final Four of the East, and you kind of expect that.
Right.
That being said, the goaltending matchup, I think I found it interesting, as I said, that some people think that Varlamov, because of previous experience, has an advantage over Hart. I don't necessarily see that in this scenario. I think it's a push at best. I think, if anything, Hart might have a slight edge over Varlamov in this series. All in all, Philadelphia does have to become better with their execution in terms of their cross-ice passes. The problem is that the Islanders are not going to give them any additional ground. So I think Philadelphia's overall talent quotient can get them to win a 7-game series. And that's what I'm going to say. But I do believe that they are going to be really tired and worn by the time they get to that conference final.
Agreed. Why don't you go, Russ?
Okay. So, as Funky Cold Zadina said, this is the one I hate to pick because the minute I was in Brooklyn yesterday, I had 4 guys on the softball team immediately asking me what I thought about the Flyers, what I thought about Lafreniere. Yeah. About the Flyers, but really wanted to know how the Islanders were going to do all of that. And so I actually see the Islander fans and I see the Flyers fans. And so this is the one that gives me a little source. But at the end of the day, and I know Thomas said the Islanders are unstoppable 5-on-5, and I laughed at that. That's a nice joke because until 4 games ago they stopped themselves. But all this said, they're a really good team. Well, it's the other show I go on. They're probably trying to get me on early. Both teams are really good. Both teams play good defense.
Right.
Both teams have similar scoring problems with the power play.
Right.
Goalie, again, I give the goaltending edge to the Flyers with Carter Hart. I give the team defense the edge with the Islanders. I do think it's going to come down to experience and who's going to come through. Nobody really has those perfect grizzled playoff guys that you point to and say, like Blake Como, like that son of a bitch Blake Como that we all hate. They don't, neither.
Nick Leddy.
I think it's actually his new official name.
Nick Leddy, Matt Niskanen. I mean, in many ways, if you think about it, Niskanen, and this was kind of brought up during the press conference today. They're actually going, much the same way that Nate Thompson was kind of plumbed for his knowledge on the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
So too is Matt Niskanen on how the Islanders play because of Barry Trotz. And he said,
I got to make it quick. So I am going to go Flyers in 7. I'll be right back.
Flyers in 7. Go ahead.
Uncle Leo is that guy. Is that
Uncle Leo?
Uncle Leo. You will hate
Flyers in 7. Wow. Go ahead, Mike. I didn't expect that. I thought Russ was going in a different direction there. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's my pick as well as Flyers in 7. I do think that the Islanders pose a little bit more of a problem than Montreal. Montreal was sort of Islanders light. I think their goalie was a little better price, at least reputation wise. The top end of their defense. By the way, Carey Price had the same save percentage as Frederick Anderson.
Yeah, but he's better.
But the top end of their defense, Weber and Petrie, I think are better than the top end of the Islanders defense. But the Islanders defense is deeper, and I think the Islanders have more scoring than the Habs. So it's going to be a difficult task for Philadelphia. But I think Philadelphia is up to it, and if they get the kind of goaltending they got from Carter Hart, I think that they can. It's going to be a very tight series. I'm picking Flyers in 7, but I think it's going to be really, really tight.
Jan.
So if Russ has a difficult dilemma, I have a Faustian dilemma. The only thing made worse would be having to pick between Islanders Devils. So I will respectfully disagree with Mike. I think Weber and Petrie have the names. Pelech and Pulak have shown in this playoffs that they're a first pairing that nobody wants to face. And I think that's going to drive what's going to happen in this series because the Flyers' ability to be able to generate offense when those two guys are on the ice is going to make a material difference whether or not Philly ends up winning this series. I talked about last round that I will South-Pat going into the game that Bouvalier had to come up big and he scored the 2 goals. I do think that his ability now to score gives the Islanders an edge that maybe they didn't have previously to go along with guys like Barzal and Bailey. To me, I think this round you actually start to see a little more out of Jordan Eberle. I think this is the round that he kind of has a big series. As much as it pains me, and look, I liked AV as a coach. I thought AV was a good coach in New York. I just think his time had run out, and that's why he had to go. I'm actually going to go Islanders in 7 in this one. I could see Flyers clearly winning this series. I think Hart is probably a better goalie overall than Varlamov, but I do think the Islanders, if you want to talk a team that's touched, before the pandemic hit, they were very much in danger of missing the playoffs. They had lost 4 in a row. They had looked horrible the previous 7 or 8 games. They were very good. And if the season had continued, they're very strong likelihood they may not have made the playoffs. The reset allowed them to get fully healthy. They were able to get Pelech back into their lineup, which has made a material difference. And I'm going to go the Islanders in 7.
Here's
the Islanders do have that Swiss secret weapon, Thomas Greiss.
I'm not even mentioning
it. No. He's not. I'm going to move. I'm just going to end it on this because I know we got to get going. But and we really appreciate you guys joining us, and thanks everybody for jumping on tonight on short notice. So if Giroux and Couturier don't start scoring, this is not a series. Like the Islanders will take this in like 5 or 6 if they don't score. To me, the big
Voracek got loose in towards the latter part of last series, which is a good sign. Now Giroux definitely they need some production out of Claude, no question.
Yeah, what you have here is two teams that are both like playing very well, but both a little bit like psychologically messed up in that they could either of these teams could lose their confidence really fast. That's what I see. Like I see like if the Islanders win the first two games, by 4-1 scores or 3-0 scores, something like that, the Flyers will have like they just won't think because the Islanders are already inside the Flyers' head. This is a tough team for the Flyers to play in general.
It is a tough one, but again, circumstances of those games. If we're going to point to the 3-0 games, absolutely. Again, if we had more games on Long Island, it'd be a bit of an issue as well. The thing is that they were back to back. There are such things in terms of Philly coming off multiple games, going into those matchups, falling behind, coming back, and then losing late. So it's a tighter. It still reads as even despite the record, it's still a tighter series. But the Islanders, I will agree with you, Act, in terms of the Isles present a conundrum for Philadelphia.
They do. They're a better version of Montreal, like we talked about before. In many ways, 3 games in 4 nights is not the best thing for the Flyers. I don't think the way this starts off. Right, Monday.
But again, they get a 2-night rest and to build themselves up for that run. Everybody's got to deal with that right now. Boston's got to deal with it. Tampa's got to deal with it.
Everybody's got to deal with it at some point. That's an interesting. I'd rather have it at the beginning of the series than at the end of the series, like other teams have had it. So I think it's good that they have the back-to-back in games 3 and 4. I think that's helpful. I do think the Islanders, like Jan said, are also could fall apart quickly too. Like if this was a team that was struggling not too long ago, they've got it together. But if the Flyers can just start scoring on them and take them down the first couple games, they could crimp. So this could be a 5 or 6 game series either way, which is what's so hard to pick it to me. But I'm gonna go Islanders in 6 just because I haven't seen Giroux and Couturier's focus yet where it needs to be.
I think Couturier's been close.
Yeah,
especially the last 2 games, he got real close. Especially the one power play.
And Konechny. Let's throw Konechny in there too.
Konechny finally got one in, but it was a deflection. You hope he gets loose as well. If they get loose, it gets real interesting.
They get loose if the Flyers finish them in 5 or 6. But if they don't, I got to see that in the first couple games. And because in the first couple games, if they don't get loose, Carter Hart's been for a bigger challenge than he's been at for before.
I mean, listen, Vigneault threw the gauntlet down today during the press conference today, basically saying we need more from the guys who drove the bus during the season.
Yeah, they do.
So he's pointing directly at those players. I'm not going to name names, but we all know who those names are.
Yeah, no, it's obvious who they are, and they've got to
estimate who they are.
They're both Giroux, and I've never seen Giroux forcing so many passes as he did in the Montreal series. I've never, and that bothers me. I've never seen Konechny trying to be like a scorer in terms of like a skilled scorer. That's not the kind of goals he gets. He's and I feel like he's hitting the crossbar, hitting posts, slamming his stick. Konechny's got to just take a reset and relax. They really need somebody on that team has to take Konechny under their wings more than they are right now in my mind. He's sort of out of control a little bit, I think, and they need to because he's one of my favorite players ever, Konechny. And I think he can come back and do lots of great things, but he needs to sort of be told by some veteran, just do your thing, just stop trying to be the top scorer on this team. Like you're not, you could be at times, and he has been, and like we talked about this, Anthony, off the air, he gets paid to be a top scorer, but at the same time, he doesn't get. He's one of those guys that can easily just read his own press clippings and not understand.
I think you can read him the same way as you could have read Brendan. Again, he's a younger Brendan Gallagher.
No, they're so similar.
They're so similar in that's the thing. I mean, Gallagher was taken off his game for most of that series.
Yep.
So it's the same thing. That's the strategy. You kind of use their over-aggressive.
The key to players like that have gotten successful in long NHL careers when players like that is that they learn how to play when things aren't going in for them. Like they know they have a way to be still effective and still make big great defensive plays, set up other guys, and not start to go crazy when things aren't going their way. And that I think is Konechny's problem right now. He needs a breakout game. He could get it. This is going to be a hell of a series. I think it's going to be a lot more exciting than the Montreal series was because the Islanders just have more offense. They'll take more chances.
Ironically, a player like that who played very well in the first round in the first game of the Dallas-Colorado series took a stupid penalty because of lack of impulse control. Nazem Kadri, the old Nazem Kadri showed up. It's If he plays under control, the guy is a great player.
He's a good example of this kind of player. Like
he just never plays under control.
Right. I mean, he's got a little bit. He's more of a loose cannon than Konechny for sure. He's probably also a little more skilled than Konechny, but he can, But at the same time, Konechny at his best is scoring big goals more than he's scoring a lot of goals.
Right.
Like me, Konechny has a really good sense of when to score goals. Like he has definitely scored some big goals for Flyers. He's a good overtime player, things like that. Like we've seen it from before. He ties games up. He's a good player of that kind of thing. So if we need that. And this last series was played so close to the vest that it really didn't suit Konechny's game at all. It felt like he was running around looking for something to do. So we'll see what happens with this one. But that's it, guys. Thanks so much for jumping on. We really appreciate it. We'll be back again tomorrow with a regular show. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. Enjoy the games. 15 minutes from now. Talk to you soon.